Hi friends, Sam Wahid Khan, coach and speaker at Mission Always Strong. As I mentioned in my previous video, I'll be discussing this bullying topic, which is very vital to me. I have observed it over the years. I've studied about it. I've seen in the market how it actually works and how people are unaware of it. So it's very important for me to emphasize on this term, on this phenomena that people go through, and it at a lot of time it goes unrecognized in the society, or we don't want to do anything about it, which is a concern because it does lead to a lot of serious consequences over a long-term period, whether you're going to school, your work environment, how you behave in society, with your family, with your friends. It's very critical in that aspect. So today we'll be discussing bullying in general, how it actually works, and I'll be trying to, I will emphasize on the workplace bullying, which is very critical to me, as I do see that people have 25, 30 years of work span, and if they don't get out of these bullying cycle, it can really affect how they perform, their relationship, their family status, how their kids behave, and things like that. So bullying in itself is a habitual behavior, which makes it repetitive, of course, in nature. When we try to intimidate, a bully tries to intimidate people around them by using a physical force or verbal force. Sometimes it happens in a form of a group, which makes it mobbing, where you have more associates at the available to justify the bully's behavior. As they go through their patterns, or as they go through their habitual nature of bringing people down, belittling them, or calling them names, or using a physical force to take a control of the situation, or the dominance in the workplace, or dominance in your group of friends, or in your family, and trying to intimidate, which is a very serious concern, and that's why I'm going on to that. So the thing about bullying is it's not even as common to a lot of cultures around the world. A lot of cultures around the world see bullying as a force that is supposed to make you more resilient. By intimidating you, you're supposed to get out of that nutshell by breaking and showing that you can actually go against it. And your name is, if someone starts calling you a certain name, or you loser as a kid, then you want to prove yourself that you are a winner and not a loser. But so some societies actually work in that way, where basically they consider bullying as a good concept. It's not only the society, the culture. Some organization around the world, like military, will consider bullying as a very common thing for people to accept, as it makes them stronger physically and mentally and resilient to all these negative comments, and how to actually interact with people like that. So there's different concept about it. So a lot of time bullying doesn't even, people don't even consider the concept of bullying as bullying. They just consider as a part of a norm culture, and they think this is how it's supposed to be, which is make it very, very dangerous. And that's why a lot of time people have serious issues psychologically, or in some other sense, where they can't grow into a better position. And somewhere in behind that is because of the behavior that they get to see during their early ages, whether it's your house, where parents kind of bully kids, and in a sense where they control you financially, they control you emotionally. They kind of in that way you can basically follow them, and to cut you off if you don't actually, or emotionally taking you into control, that if you don't behave their way, it's going to be a highway. So it happens in different things. There are four kind of individual bullying that you can divide into different categories. It could be your physical force, where you actually use your physical actual force, or cause damage to the person or some asset that belongs to the person, stealing things, hiding things, which basically all come in the category of physical abuse and bullying in different forms. It can be at work, it can be school, it can be other places too. Then you have verbal, which is basically you're more of how you use your worldly force against people in spreading rumors, calling them names, belittling them, bringing them down. Again, it affects you negatively. Then you have relational bullying. You have nowadays you have cyberbullying where people get on there and kind of one person can go around and keep on bullying people and bringing them down and kind of try to bring their self-esteem down. So this is all these different kind of behavior in all the concept comes down to take the control and try to grab the attention, which is basically in bullying the person who's a bully. In their mind, somewhere in there are some sort of a self-esteem issues or their lack of confidence, which they try to by covering or throwing onto the other people. They try to cover that so no one questions them. But that's the other part of the psychology, how bully behave, what basically cause them to become what they are. What here is different. What I want to talk about is different kinds, so we can recognize as we go through, when we see these kind of behaviors in our society. It is extremely important because what I've observed a lot of times, the cultures that are actually aware of these situations, they mostly think that it only happens at school. But school is just a portion of that, where your group of kids is trying to, or one kid is trying to take over the class and things like that. Once you move on to your practical field, where you're in your workplace, it becomes even more, because adults somehow, especially if they have already been bullied in their young ages, once they move into the workplace, now they're more vulnerable, because for the longest time, if they weren't able to break the cycle and their self-esteem were low, now they can be more victimization of bullying as they get to the workplace. In workplace, you have all sort of, because mostly at workplace, when you have bullying, it happens mostly in covert operation, where you are more rules are set, and a lot of time a group of people who are already in that nexus, they will try to, in a collective force, they will try to bring you down before they will accept you into their group. And the only way to get away with these bullies is basically once you get on their side, or you become one of their associates somehow, or they find you that you're equivalent to them in some scenarios. But majority of the people, what they do is they end up they just get quiet, they ignore the behavior, they don't want to do anything about it, they just consider that's a joke, or even if they take it emotionally, they just take it on themselves, and they more acquire of what we call it the passive communication skill, where they're not actually conveying their message, what exactly happened and how it's affecting them, which is, again, it's just a concern. Bullying, I've been around, like you see people bullying people with disabilities. You will see them in sexual discrimination in our modern day society, as the female becomes more and more at the dominant positions. We already have a gender problem in as far as the income goes. Like you have separate incomes for both genders. Then on top of that, if you really look at the statistics, some of the researches that have been performed out there, one of them I remember reported by CIO.com on an employment alliance, that 84% of the victim at work are females, and 82% of them pretty much end up leaving the job, which is very sad how it actually works, and not actually get recognized at work that this is what's happening around them. You can see these behaviors in your town, where one guy is actually made a form of a group and trying to come around and bringing them down, or trying to intimidate them by showing them what other friends they have and how can they physically hurt you or verbally hurt you, or spread rumors about you. Fields such as nursing, you'll find out, if you do a little bit more research into that, you'll find out how we have in medical fields, you'll find rumors get spread about you, which happens a lot in the female categories, and you have rumors and you have stories about you which you're not aware of, and slowly it starts affecting you, because you start justifying yourself, and you start going into that cycle, and you end up leaving that job. So again, it's very important that we recognize all these bullying behavior, whether it's at school, whether it's at work, whether it's in our families, whether it's in our mind, somewhere in there, we think that intimidation will cause someone to act as in resiliency and make something out of it. But the ratio of that is very, very less. Not that many people are that emotionally strong that they can actually face all that kind of emotional and physical abuse, and they can't stand against it. A lot of time it has to do how they were raised from the beginning, and bullies are normally aware of that. Once you go around them, they will spot those things and they will use it to their advantage, your vulnerabilities to their advantage, and that's where you have to understand who you are, and how can you stay away from all this negative energy, how can you stay away from these bullying force so it doesn't affect you in long run, or your family, and the social people that you're hanging around with, your friends. So bullying in general, it must be recognized. It happens in all sort of forms, where your stories get spread around. Your managers will leave you while it's your lunch break all of a sudden, and they know that you have to be there just to see that if you will tolerate that behavior for the next time, then they will put some extra load of work on top of you just to see if you will accept it at this time. I mean, I'm not saying don't go for the extra work, but what I'm saying is you will come across bullying at work when the managers or the owners of the company, you will see the pattern that they will try to test you in different things. You will see signs of bullies where they will try to slip you under the mat and try to push extra work on you, so you can't really move forward or be as efficient. And anytime you go around and try to talk to them, they'll try to point out to all the negative things that might have happened, or small mistakes here and there, just to bring you down, so they can affect your self-esteem, so they can affect your self-confidence, so in that way you can be emotionally and in control of them. So in my opinion, where I'm trying to take all this stuff is, the solution, how can we rectify that? How can we recognize these bullies, and how can we go against it? How can we stand for it? So a lot of times you will see these bullyings happen, especially at works, in covert operations, where people or managers, the nexus is already aware of it, like how they behave, and they have become a part of, there's a group of friends which basically behind the desk talk about it and laugh about it. One person goes out there and try to, for example, the comments could be, anytime you make a mistake, you're like, oh, what a fantastic job. Or it could be like, when you wanna convey a message from the manager or owner, or the bully can come like that you are, oh, you should be a motivational speaker, or you should go out and debate, and why don't you become a president of the country? Things like that, to where it's not a constructive criticism, which is directly, and then people around them kind of laugh, or they look at each other from different eyes, just acknowledging the fact that they enjoyed that criticism. So it's extremely important that these behaviors must be recognized. A lot of surveys shows, there's a survey out there with Employment Alliance that shows about 80% of your bosses, bullies, at workplace, 70 to 80% are your bosses, which is a very vulnerable position for any team to be working underneath a person like that, where they're consistently micromanaging you, they're consistently putting pressure on you, they're consistently making stories and trying to bring you down and causing your self-esteem to get affected. The reason why it's so important to convey all these things is because a lot of time when people tend to go through these emotional abuse and physical abuse, and where their self-esteem kind of drop, in later years, or in researches, you will see a lot of these people developed depression problem, anxiety problems, low self-esteem issues, and a lot of them ended up committing suicide, which makes bullying technically a deadly force. You start with bullying, it doesn't directly take you to suicide. In some cases, actually in some countries do, they will intimidate you so much that eventually kid will be ended up taking their life in school because they are under so much pressure that they consider that it's better to just give up and move on than actually trying to face all these intimidation and the force and the harass and all the pressure from the society. So this must be addressed. We must stand against it. We should not ignore just by staying quiet at work. If we do see the behavior, someone making prejudice statements, we should just straight up tell them that, listen, that was not nice. What you just said to him, we don't tolerate this kind of behavior. These kind of comments can actually push these people behind and don't laugh at them when they're laughing and making fun of other people. Don't stand there and laugh at them or with them, to help them, support them. What they're doing is right. Even if someone has made mistakes, even if someone is doing that, we all humans, it's a part of it. You made a mistake, I made a mistake, we all made mistakes. So what should we do? Start laughing at each other, mocking each other, bring each other down, belittle each other, calling each other names? No, it doesn't work like that. The society only moves forward when we help each other grow, when we believe in abundance, when we move forward, try to achieve our goals in a positive direction, and not by just because certain people have some negative force from their childhood because of their parents treated them certain way, or they were given certain privileges to exercise this behavior, doesn't mean that we should basically go out and keep on tolerating this behavior. Any given chance we see it on the street, if we see someone going down on the employee, trying to insult them, belittle them, it's our moral duty to stand up there and not trying to protect our jobs, but to actually stand there and talk about it, that what you just did is not right. And it should not happen, because if it happens to them today, it can happen to you tomorrow. Too bad in a lot of cultures. I mean, we consider that be friends with bullying, it makes us in a very good position, because now we are in a power position. But in moral values, in your normal human, accepting as a social animal, where we actually care about each other, where we have empathy about each other, the bullying behavior does not work. It only brings people down and affect them emotionally, it affects them physically. It's a very common behavior. Again, I said that if you are encountering that with your boss, you might want to walk up to them and tell them, listen, this behavior, what you just said, it doesn't work for me, or what did you actually mean by that when you made that comment? And in between there comes your self-evaluation and self-awareness. If you are aware of your capabilities, and if you have taken help from a third party, a person who actually believe in you, and you are able to put together by doing a self-evaluation and by taking the right advice from the right people and put it together and to find out who you are, these kind of comments will not affect you. You will be able to get past by them, and you will be able to talk back to the person, tell them this is not you, why did they make that comment, can they clarify it a little bit more? And if they try to come back at you that you're being too emotional, at that point you can tell them, okay, you know what, if you think that I'm going to be emotional, then maybe you don't want to talk about it again, or next time if you do talk about it, I'm not going to get into discussion with you. So you can actually draw lines around these people. You can stand up against them. So slowly to push them behind, because these are habitual behavior. Do not expect the bullies to basically fix themselves on their own, because eventually by not standing against them, or by not acknowledging it, or by not stopping it, what happens is we are giving them more fuel and fire to go out there and keep on doing this behavior till they get to the point where they have practiced it so much that no matter what you do, they're not able to listen. They're not going to listen, especially like when I say that your bosses could be bullies, as the stats show 70 to 80%, because the certain behavior has actually worked for them, and now they are not willing to give it up. So being a free social animal, having freedom as a part of your personality, of knowing who you are, we must recognize who we are. Our self-awareness, self-evaluation should be strong enough where we can stand against bullies, whether we are working in law firms where junior lawyers get mocked by the senior lawyers in the first 4 or 5 years, or we are talking about nursing where there are gossips going around, or we are talking about physical disabilities, or we are talking about someone being at a blue-collar job, or someone being, at other Salesforce or IT jobs where you have a certain goals to make, and then at the end of the day, the manager starts beating all the guys down when the deadline approach, and start calling them names and putting pressure on them, and all these negative scenarios. So it must be recognized. This is extremely, extremely, extremely important for our physical health, for our emotional health, how we behave in the society, how we move forward in the society, how we're going to move forward, and how our generation is going to act. Because if I'm a bully, more than likely my behavior is going to cause my kids to become bully as well. And it's just the cycle is not going to break. It's just going to keep on going on. And the best thing to do is recognize it myself and fix it. And if I don't, then, if my friend, I will expect them to come around and tell me this is not the behavior and this is not how I do it. So we should stand against bullying, irrelevant of who they are. As parents, as teachers, as workers, as your bosses. Listen, nothing is more important than your emotional and physical, your mental health. Because if you're not right in your head, if you're not feeling good about yourself, if your self-esteem is not there, just going to the job day by day, just following directions day by day, and just obeying the laws day by day, it's not going to enhance you. It's just going to make you a slavery of intimidation or harassment. Every single time you're going to see a bullying behavior, instead of stopping it, you're going to try to get on that side of the plate and become a part of the group, and it's just not going to come down. So instead of creating those repetitive behavior, habitual bullies, more and more of them, where we are going out and verbally and physically and abusing and trying to belittle people, we have to recognize it. We must stop it. We must address it. Every time we see this kind of a behavior, we must stand against it. It said no workplace is more important than your physical and emotional health. No schooling system is better than, because you can read all the books, but if you're not emotionally healthy there and you've been bullied by the teachers or the students around, it's going to affect you negatively in long run. And the concept in life is all about long run. You don't want to just look at the short term, just get quiet and go around it. No, because you leave that behavior for someone else to fix, it's not going to get fixed. Eventually, your kids are going to become the wrath of these bullying behavior, because their kids are going to become bully, and eventually somewhere in there, one of you family member is going to go into the fire. So you don't want to do that. We all work as a society. We all grow as a society. We all put things on a society. It's a covert operation. A lot of time it's an overt operation. However it is, we must recognize it. We must put a stop on it. We must acknowledge it. We must be worried about our co-workers' mental health. We must be worried about our friends at school mental health. And anytime we spot these signs, we should take it. We talk to that. If that doesn't rectify it, we should take, and we should always record these things. So when we go talk to the above power or HRs and things like that, we can actually present them all the series of behaviors or the pattern that was created over the time. So it goes so you can convey your message properly. So once again, bullying, extremely critical. How we stand against it, how we behave around it, how we stay away from the negative force, and how we break this nexus of bullying with these, and provide a more comfortable and friendly environment, whether at school, colleges, online, on cyber, on our workplaces, in our society, going out to the parks, like anywhere. We should be concerned about how we can impact the society in a good way, and try to mitigate all these negativity that's basically stopping people from moving forward and causing them very serious and sometimes deadly consequences. Stay strong, my friends. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, send me email. You can always follow me on my Instagram, Coach Always Strong. You can follow me on my Facebook at Sam Wahid Khan. Also have a website where you can get more information on different quotations, www.alwaysstrong.com. I would love to chat with you guys. I'd love to discuss more topics. Please send me your inquiries, any questions, email, and we'll talk more. Take care. Have an excellent day. Bye.